At 88 years old, Max Baer Jr. finally breaks his silence, and what he reveals about Irene Ryan, the woman millions adored, quietly rewrote a chapter of television history that had been frozen for decades. But long before that moment of truth, before the cameras, before Beverly Hills, and before the weight of an industry that never forgets, Max Baer Jr. entered the world as Maximilian Adalbert Baer Jr., born on December 4, 1937, in the energetic city of Oakland, Alameda County, California. He was born into greatness and pressure. His father, Max Baer Sr., was no ordinary parent. He was a boxing legend, the ferocious world heavyweight champion of 1934, famous for his devastating punching power and his historic victory over Primo Carnera. That kind of fame doesn't just fill arenas, it follows children home. Growing up in the shadow of such a towering public figure meant expectations were always high and scrutiny was constant. Max Sr.'s bold personality and celebrity status shaped the world young Max lived in, but balance came from his mother, Mary Ellen Sullivan. She was the quiet anchor of the family, instilling values of discipline, education, compassion, and emotional grounding that would prove just as influential as his father's fame. As the son of a sports icon, Max Baer Jr. learned early what it meant to live in the public eye. Yet instead of being swallowed by his father's legacy, he carved out his own identity. He attended Christian Brothers High School in Sacramento, an institution known for its demanding academics and strong emphasis on character and sportsmanship. It was there that Max began to stand out, not just as Max Baer's son, but as a force in his own right. Remarkably, he earned varsity letters in 4 different sports at the same time, a rare achievement that spoke volumes about his athletic versatility, discipline, and relentless drive. Among his standout accomplishments was golf, where he twice won the Sacramento Open Junior Golf Tournament, proving that his talents extended far beyond the boxing ring his father once dominated. These early successes hinted at a future defined by balance between creativity and competition, fame and independence. After high school, Max continued his journey at Santa Clara University, a respected Jesuit institution in California. There, he earned a bachelor's degree in business administration, pairing practical knowledge of commerce and management with a minor in philosophy. That philosophical grounding reflected his curiosity about human behavior, ethics, and the deeper questions behind success and identity. In hindsight, this blend of business acumen and introspection laid the foundation for everything that came next, from acting to producing and directing, and eventually to savvy ventures in real estate and entertainment. And decades later, when Max Baer Jr. finally speaks openly about Irene Ryan, it becomes clear that his story was never just about fame, but about legacy, truth, and the moments he waited a lifetime to share. Long before America would know him as the unforgettable Jethro Bodine, Max Baer Jr. made his very first step into acting as a child in 1949 on a real stage in England at the famous Blackpool Pavilion. He appeared in a live production of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, a small role but a powerful beginning. That early moment gave him something few future TV stars had at the time: first-hand experience with live performance, timing, audience reaction, and storytelling. It quietly laid the foundation for the career that would later define him. But it was not until the 1960s that Max Baer Jr. truly launched himself into professional acting. During a period now remembered as the golden age of American television, Max signed with Warner Brothers, one of the most powerful studios in the industry. Almost immediately, he became a familiar face across television screens, appearing in one hit series after another. His early credits included Maverick, Surfside 6, Cheyenne, Hawaiian Eye, 77 Sunset Strip, Bronco, Sugarfoot, Follow the Sun, and It's a Man's World.
These roles were more than just steady work. They placed Max inside the fast-moving, high-pressure world of network television production at its peak. Week after week, set after set, he sharpened his skills, learned how to deliver under tight schedules, and built the professional discipline that separated long-term actors from short-lived faces. Yet despite this promising and busy television run, Max Baer Jr. would ultimately be remembered for just one role, the role that changed everything. In 1962, he was cast as Jethro Bodine on the CBS sitcom The Beverly Hillbillies, a series that would run till 1971 and become one of the most iconic shows in American television history. Jethro, the naive and dim-witted son of Jed Clampett's cousin, quickly became a fan favorite. Through Max's performance, the character captured the heart of the show, its warmth, its exaggerated humor, and its sharp, playful satire of rural versus urban life. For nearly a decade, Max Baer Jr.'s portrayal of Jethro resonated deeply with audiences. The character was funny, lovable, and instantly recognizable, turning him into a household name across the country. But the same role that brought him national fame also created a shadow he could never fully escape. Jethro was so popular and so strongly associated with Max that it led to heavy typecasting, a challenge that would follow him for the remainder of his acting career. Even at the height of the Beverly Hillbillies, Max Baer Jr. continued working beyond the show. He appeared in other television projects, such as Love American Style, 1969 to 1974, and Vacation Playhouse, 1969 to 1974. He also crossed into film, taking on the role of Sergeant Luther Liskell in the 1967 war movie A Time for Killing. Behind the laughter and the legendary sitcom fame, Max Baer Jr.'s career was shaped just as much by opportunity as by the limitations that success itself quietly imposed. For most actors, one legendary role is a dream come true. For Max Baer Jr., it quietly became a creative cage. However, the enduring and overwhelming association with Jethro Bodine drastically limited the range of roles offered to him, a struggle that many actors face when they become inseparably linked to a single iconic character. Casting directors could not unsee the wide-eyed, lovable Jethro, no matter how hard Max tried to present himself as something different. Behind the scenes, he realized that Hollywood's greatest gift to him had also become his biggest professional obstacle. Rather than allowing that image to define the rest of his career, Max made a bold and strategic decision, one that would quietly reshape his future in the entertainment industry. He shifted his focus away from acting alone and moved into producing, directing, and screenwriting. This transition gave him something he had rarely enjoyed as an actor: real creative control. For the first time, Max could choose the stories he wanted to tell, shape characters from the ground up, and explore creative paths that were completely separate from the shadow of Jethro Bodine. That turning point arrived in 1974, when Max Baer Jr. made his official debut as a producer and screenwriter with the film Macon County Line. The gritty Southern drama marked a dramatic departure from the light-hearted television image audiences had come to expect from him. In the film, Max also stepped in front of the camera, starring as Deputy Reed Morgan, a role that allowed him to showcase a tougher, more grounded on-screen presence. The film surprised both critics and audiences alike, earning commercial success and recognition for its suspenseful storytelling. More importantly, it proved that Max was not simply a television actor trying his luck behind the scenes, but a serious and capable filmmaker. Encouraged by that success, Max moved quickly to build on the momentum. Just 1 year later, in 1975, he took on an even greater creative challenge. He produced, wrote, and directed The Wild McCullochs, while also portraying the character Culver Robinson. The project was a family drama that revealed his growing confidence as a storyteller and filmmaker. Balancing multiple roles behind and in front of the camera, Max demonstrated a level of versatility that many had not expected from him. The film allowed him to further separate his professional identity from his television past and solidified his commitment to working as a full creative force within the industry. His most notable achievement during this period came in 1976, when he directed and produced Ode to Billie Joe, a feature film adaptation inspired by the hugely popular song of the same name. Translating a beloved piece of popular culture into a compelling cinematic story was no small task, yet the film resonated strongly with audiences and became a major box office success. The project firmly established Max as a filmmaker capable of transforming well-known cultural material into emotionally engaging and commercially viable films. For many in the industry, this marked the moment when Max Baer Jr. was no longer viewed simply as a former television star, but as a respected creative professional behind the camera. His final directorial effort came in 1979 with Hometown USA, which ultimately marked the end of his primary involvement in film direction. Although his time as a director was relatively brief, it represented an important chapter in his career, one defined by independence, creative risk, and a determination to reinvent himself on his own terms. Yet Max's ambitions extended well beyond film and television. Away from the camera, he revealed a sharp and calculated business mindset. Over the years, he expanded his professional pursuits into real estate and the casino industry, demonstrating a keen understanding of long-term investment and brand value. While many entertainers struggled to transition into business, Max approached it with the same strategic thinking that had guided his move into filmmaking. In fact, one of his most ambitious visions centered on creating what he has often described as a Beverly Hillbillies empire, an expansive commercial concept designed to capitalize on the enduring popularity of the legendary television series that made him famous in the first place. Rather than distancing himself from the legacy of the show, Max chose to embrace it in an entirely new way. This far-reaching plan reportedly includes the development of Jethro's Beverly Hills mansion as a themed attraction, along with a series of casinos inspired by the world of the Clampetts. The concept blends nostalgia, entertainment, and tourism into a single business model, reflecting Max's ability to merge emotional fan connection with entrepreneurial vision. By reimagining the beloved television universe as a physical destination, he aimed to transform cultural memory into a multi-layered commercial experience. To support this vision, Max has reportedly secured deals to acquire the rights to use character names, likenesses, and other show-related intellectual property. These agreements are intended to ensure that the Beverly Hillbillies brand could be legally and creatively expanded across multiple platforms and ventures. Through this strategy, Max Baer Jr. has sought to turn a single iconic role, once seen as a professional limitation, into the foundation of a lasting and multi-dimensional business legacy.
According to reports, Max has secured deals to acquire the rights to use names, likenesses, and other show-related intellectual property, positioning himself to transform the Beverly Hillbillies from a beloved television series into a multi-dimensional commercial brand. Behind the laughter, the fame, and the unforgettable face of Jethro Bodine, there was a private life that very few people ever truly saw. Max Baer Jr.'s personal life has long fascinated the public, almost as much as his career in Hollywood. The son of legendary boxing champion Max Baer Sr. and a beloved television star in his own right, Baer's romantic relationships often made headlines, revealing a side of him far beyond the screen. Though he mostly guarded his private life, the few relationships that did become public paint a vivid picture of love, fame, and the pressures of living under the spotlight.
In 1966, at the height of his fame from the Beverly Hillbillies, where his portrayal of Jethro Bodine turned him into an American household name, Max Baer Jr. married Joanne Kathleen Hill. Yet the demands of celebrity life, grueling travel schedules, long hours on set, and constant public attention placed enormous strain on the young couple. Like many who marry under the glare of the spotlight, Baer and Hill struggled to navigate both love and fame. Their marriage lasted 5 years, ending in divorce in 1971, at a moment when Baer was striving to reinvent himself professionally beyond the shadow of his iconic role. After the split, Baer never remarried, but his love life remained a subject of public curiosity. He was romantically linked to several high-profile women, most notably Victoria Principal, the celebrated actress and businesswoman best known for Dallas. Their relationship drew intense media scrutiny, both because of their fame and the glamorous, high-profile circles they inhabited. Baer was also reportedly involved with model Cher Rhodes, further cementing his reputation as a man whose romances often mirrored the allure and drama of Hollywood itself. Yet not all of these relationships were free from controversy, and his time with Victoria Principal in particular would later spark debates and media speculation, highlighting how fame and love often collided in Baer's life. Back in 2005, the entertainment world was rocked when Principal came forward with a shocking allegation. She claimed that Baer had assaulted her during their romantic relationship years earlier. The revelation sent ripples through the media, reigniting interest in Baer's personal life decades after he had become a household name. The timing of the claim, long after his television heyday, added fuel to an already intense scrutiny of his past, with reporters and fans alike dissecting every known detail of his private life. Baer, now firmly in the public eye for reasons beyond his acting, vehemently denied the accusations. He insisted the claims were entirely false and without merit. No criminal charges were filed, and throughout the ordeal, Baer maintained a consistent position. He had never engaged in any such behavior. The incident exposed the complicated intersection of fame, privacy, and memory. Relationships that once existed behind closed doors can be interpreted in dramatically different ways when they are cast into the public spotlight. For Baer, the allegations collided sharply with the playful, easygoing persona he had cultivated for decades. Audiences remembered him as Jethro Bodine, the lovable, dim-witted character from the Beverly Hillbillies, but the controversy reminded everyone that life outside the lens is rarely so simple. Baer, who had always valued discretion, chose to retreat from Hollywood's relentless gaze, dedicating himself to private ventures, investments, and a life away from constant media attention. At 88, he reflects on those years with a sense of clarity and perspective that comes from decades of experience navigating both fame and personal challenge. Even as he looks back on controversies, Baer is eager to discuss the figures who shaped his career. Among them, Irene Ryan, the unforgettable granny, stands out as one of the most influential. On screen, she was the sweet, cantankerous grandmother beloved by millions, but Baer remembers her very differently. She was tougher than almost anyone I'd ever met, he says. Meeting her as a young, green actor, Baer was immediately struck by her commanding presence.
How soon's the wedding? I'm all ready to dance.
Ryan had already conquered vaudeville, radio, and film, and her confidence was born from decades of navigating every corner of show business. She was unflinching, unpretentious, and acutely perceptive. She could tell immediately if someone was genuine or merely putting on a front. At first, Baer found her intimidating. He admits, "I was young, and she could see right through me." But that same sharpness became a source of invaluable lessons. Ryan's rigorous standards, her insistence on professionalism, and her ability to survive and thrive in an unforgiving industry taught Baer how to carry himself both on set and off. Through highs and lows, laughter and tension, Ryan modeled resilience. Baer credits her not only with helping him grow as an actor, but also with instilling a respect for the craft that would guide him long after the Beverly Hillbillies wrapped. For Baer, remembering Ryan is less about nostalgia and more about acknowledging the toughness, dedication, and wisdom that shaped the man behind the iconic Jethro Bodine persona. Ryan demanded more than talent. She demanded respect, preparation, and absolute precision. Shortcuts didn't exist in her world. If you slacked, she knew it instantly. But if you showed commitment, she rewarded it with her unwavering respect. Behind the stern persona everyone saw on set, Baer insists there was a side of Irene Ryan few ever witnessed. Off camera, when the lights went down, she could be surprisingly warm, even tender.
She had a dry, wicked humor that caught you off guard. Ryan would spin stories about vaudeville that made your hair stand on end, stories only someone who had lived a hard, unpredictable life could tell. She had faced failed marriages, financial insecurity, and personal hardships long before the Beverly Hillbillies made her a household name in her later years. That struggle gave her a rare appreciation for success. It wasn't guaranteed, and she never took it lightly. Baer also addresses the whispers and rumors about tension on set. Yes, there were moments, he admits, when you put strong personalities together, sparks fly. But Ryan wasn't difficult for the sake of drama. She was fiercely protective of her character, of the integrity of the show. Granny wasn't just comic relief, she was the backbone of that family. Baer confesses he underestimated her instincts early on. She was almost always right, he says quietly. I didn't realize it until much later. Over the years, Baer grew to admire Ryan's resilience. She worked tirelessly, even as her health began to fail, always believing the audience deserved your very best, no matter how you felt. Her passing in 1971, just after the show ended, felt like more than losing a co-star. It was the end of an era. Looking back now, Baer speaks without bitterness, only clarity. Irene Ryan helped make me who I am as an actor, he reflects. She challenged him, frightened him, and taught him lessons no script could tell. History remembers the laughter she created, but often forgets the strength it took to produce it. At 88, Baer has no interest in myths or nostalgia. The truth is simple. Irene Ryan was a survivor. She earned every single laugh she delivered. And in telling that truth, Max Baer Jr. honors not just a legendary co-star, but a woman whose toughness, humor, and talent left an indelible mark on television history. Beyond the screen, he maintained a deep, enduring friendship with Buddy Ebsen, a bond built not only on shared success, but on genuine affection and mutual respect that lasted decades. Few people in his life ever meant as much to him as Buddy Ebsen. To the public, Ebsen was a television legend. To him, however, he was far more than a famous co-star. He was a quiet teacher, a patient acting mentor, a steady emotional anchor on and off the set, and a trusted friend whose advice shaped not only the direction of his career, but the way he carried himself through an industry that could be unforgiving and lonely. From the earliest days they worked together, Buddy became the person he could turn to for guidance, reassurance, and honest perspective when fame, pressure, and expectations began to close in. Their bond was not built on publicity or nostalgia. It was built on years of shared work, private conversations, creative struggles, and mutual respect. And that closeness never faded, even as time slowly pulled the cast apart and life moved everyone in different directions. That friendship remained unbroken right up to the very end. In one of the most quietly moving moments of his later life, he, together with Donna Douglas, made a final visit to Buddy Ebsen in the hospital shortly before his death.
It was not a media moment, and it was not about legacy. It was simply about friendship. They sat with him, spoke with him, and offered comfort and companionship during his final days. Three people who had once helped bring laughter and warmth into millions of homes, now sharing a deeply human and intimate farewell away from the cameras. When Buddy Ebsen passed away from pneumonia on July 6, 2003, the loss cut far deeper than the headlines could ever capture. The world mourned the passing of a beloved television icon. He mourned the loss of a mentor who had believed in him when it mattered most, and a friend whose influence extended far beyond scripts, scenes, and studio lights. As the years went by, those memories only grew more powerful. Each reunion, each interview, and each reflection on the past carried a deeper sense of gratitude and a sharper awareness of how rare and meaningful those relationships truly were. Then, in 2015, another quiet heartbreak followed. With the death of Donna Douglas, yet another treasured chapter of television history came to a close. Her passing did not simply mark the loss of a fellow cast member. It left him standing alone as the last surviving regular cast member of the Beverly Hillbillies, a distinction that was both deeply honorable and profoundly bittersweet. As the final living link to the original ensemble, he came to represent something much larger than himself. He became a living bridge to a bygone era of television, an era shaped by warmth, simplicity, gentle humor, and characters who felt like family to viewers across America. The stories, friendships, backstage laughter, long shooting days, and shared triumphs now existed mostly in memory, and he was one of the very few people left who could still remember them as they truly happened. Carrying those memories alone, he stood as the last witness to a remarkable group of friendships and creative moments that once brought millions of people together in front of their television screens. In doing so, he quietly preserved the heart of the Beverly Hillbillies, not just as a classic show, but as a living legacy of the people who created it, bonded through it, and left behind a timeless imprint on generations who continue to discover and cherish it today.